This episode of the Politics podcast is brought to you by The Contender, the game of presidential debate. All right. Not only is The Contender a place or a game that you can go and buy at thecontender.us and Amazon, not only is it the game of 2016, not only is it going to Iowa to create the inaugural card caucus beginning on January 27th, but ladies and gentlemen, we have been out here selling this game. And when we began this game's campaign on Kickstarter, we said there is one thing that we will stick to, that anybody who buys the politically incorrect expansion on Kickstarter will have their pack delivered, and we have followed through on that promise. However, I was speaking with a man via email not but 4 days ago, and he said, Justin, I did not have a chance to back your Kickstarter. I didn't have a chance to get your politically incorrect pack. So even though we have made a campaign promise, we now say that this coming week, you will have a chance for the first time ever outside of our Kickstarter to buy our politically incorrect expansion. Get more details by following at Contender Game on Twitter or Facebook.com/TheContenderGame. Also, Patreon.com/JURY. Go ahead and take a look at it. This Patreon not only supports this Politics podcast, but in the best deal on the internet, you can also support my other One Mic General Interest show, Jury. It's just a great bargain. We had a bonus episode of the Jury Show this week. Let me know how you like it. Patreon.com/JURY. Let's go ahead and start the show.
Politics. Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the RUBIO'S Boots podcast. Nothing but Marco Rubio's Boots talk 24/7. That is why you are here, and that is why I am here. Let's cut to the chase here, folks. There is just one issue in this here election, and that is the fact that somebody wore high platform boots. My name is Justin Robert Young. You have no idea how much I am so excited about this show. I'm not going to lie to you. There were some points coming into November where I was like, man, I know I love politics. I know I love following politics, but is this really interesting enough to do a weekly show? Is this really interesting enough? Because all you got to do is, it was certainly a ton of talk about Trump, right? Trump this. Trump ate a sandwich. Trump called somebody an idiot. Trump did a handstand and then did a backflip and said, hey, look at me. I'm a great guy. And everybody said boo, or everybody said yay. So simplistic, so monochromatic, so black and white. But folks, as that ball dropped, so did. That ball was not just a big glittering Times Square bauble for me, dear listeners. No. That was a piñata dropped from God's Mexican quinceañera. That's what it was. It was just shattered upon the ground of earth and gave forth to me personally so many political goodies that we are continuing to sift through. So many stories. We are now less than 3 weeks away from the Iowa caucus. Reporters are on the ground. Nate Silver's 538 blog is on the ground. By the way, we got some statistical evidence here that might begin to make the number nerds at 538 and their ilk begin to maybe think Donald Trump has a chance? More of a chance than everybody thought initially? We have, if you are sticking to the numbers and you are saying to yourself every day, yeah, there's a lot of hype, but I don't think this Trump thing is going to last. You had a fairly nice ride for a little bit, but we have some statistical evidence that might put a little burr in your bonnet. And again, we have our ongoing 24/7 wall-to-wall coverage of Marco Rubio's boots, including, y'all know, listeners to this show know for a fact that if there's one thing I love, it's Marco Rubio's boots. If there's two things I love, it's awesomely terrible television ads. And like the one time that Frankenstein made sweet love to a tool bench and 9 months later Frankenstein's monster came out. I don't know if that's true. I didn't read the book. We have a terrible amalgamation of both of those. An amazingly terrible political ad that is all centered around Marco Rubio's boots. If you have not seen this ad, I'm just going to let you know, you're going to drop whatever you're holding. In fact, everybody who's listening to this, go grab something now. You're going to just go into your kitchen, grab a spoon, right? If you're at school and you're listening to a podcast, that's awesome. Grab your pencil, right? If you are just sitting in bed while your wife or husband is asleep, just grab their hand. Because I want you to watch this ad a little bit later and tell me if you drop what you're holding. Okay? So go hold something. In the meantime, we will get to this. Last week, I told you guys that we had... I've had this frustration with Bernie Sanders. I have. Because so many of my friends are so high on him. So many rad people just think he's the bee's knees. But I found him to be a little complacent. I found him to be a little non-combative. I found him to be a bit of a punching bag swimming with sharks. That's a mixed metaphor that doesn't make any sense, although I guess if you had a punching bag literally just in a pool with a bunch of sharks, maybe eventually the sharks would eat it. The shark in this case is Hillary Clinton, and she has made no bones about the fact that Bernie Sanders is running against her in a game of conversation and conversion. She has taken every opportunity to highlight Bernie Sanders' gun record, to highlight Bernie Sanders' maybe over-optimistic math, which is where you normally hit somebody who is as collectivist or running as much of a collectivist campaign as Bernie Sanders is. You say that he is unrealistic, that he is pie in the sky, that he doesn't do the math, that the man ain't seen a spreadsheet if it done jumped up from the tall grass and bit him in the face. And Bernie Sanders, St. Bernard, has instead turned to the adulation of his crowd and said, I think Hillary's great, and I'm not going to attack Hillary. And his crowd rejoiced and said, finally, civility in politics has returned. And meanwhile, Hillary Clinton continued to dominate all of the polls. And yet, 1 week ago, I caught the ire for so many Bernie Sanders fans because I said he was too complacent. And we certainly saw that there was a reaction. But folks, listeners to this show, viewers on youtube.com/JustinRobertYoung, subscribe and like. What I didn't know was that St. Bernard himself must have been listening, because they say that Bernie's troll heart grew 3 sizes that day. Bernie Sanders has been on the warpath for the last week. Let's go ahead to this Politico story, which features Bernie Sanders' tweet. He tweets an old signed picture from Hillary Clinton. This is when the Clintons were in the White House and Hillary was working very hard toward health care. It says, to Bernie Sanders, with thanks for all your commitment to real health care access for all Americans. This is Bernie Sanders trolling Hillary Clinton. We then also have the fact that Hillary deployed Chelsea Clinton to go after Bernie Sanders. Hillary has been very dismissive about Bernie Sanders' healthcare system, says she's got a bunch of analysts. They ran the numbers. Listen, Bernie, he's a nice guy. He's a real nice guy. Who doesn't like Bernie? We do it like Bernie. But he ain't so good at the ones and twos. He ain't so good at the Google spreadsheet formulas. We ran the numbers, and I'm just going to be here to be the spoiler sport. They don't work. Bernie Sanders comes back and says, hey, listen, I respect Chelsea, but maybe she doesn't know what the hell she's talking about. Snaps, son. Chelsea snaps from Bernie Sanders. And yet, it seems that Bernie is resonating. We're going to get to a poll in our poll dance that shows some very troubling trends for Hillary Clinton. Now, does this mean that Bernie has a chance against Hillary? Probably not. Because even if Bernie wins Iowa, even if Bernie wins New Hampshire, even if both those things happen, he needs a lot of things to change in the rest of the country as far as they are polling right now for him to have a shot. But here's what this does do. You start to get a little Hillary Clinton lemon booty. It's an amazing phrase that I have purloined from Bomani Jones. You start to get a little bit of that whiff, a little bit of that 08 Barack Obama whiff. That, Bernie's not Barack Obama. He's not the fresh-faced hope and change that sunk Hillary Clinton, the old and stodgy standard bearer. Bernie Sanders is older. He's stodgier. He's got a penis in a year when vaginas are supposed to rule. But even if it's not, this kind of smells like it used to smell, right? Remember that time? Remember in 08? Remember when Hillary Clinton was inevitable? And then, all of a sudden, she wasn't? No. We all read Game Change. We all know that back then she was absolutely disorganized. Her campaign was arrogant. They didn't quite know how to put one and two together because they were so focused on who was going to be in the general that they didn't focus on the primary. This time they have been putting their ducks in a row since forever. They have been nailing down endorsements. If you believe Nate Silver and his 538 blog, she has an unprecedented number of endorsements for this stage of the contest. She has all the bellwethers that point to her skipping through this primary on lock. They limited the debate schedule in hopes that this would be a Hillary Clinton coronation. So, of course, this time it should be academic. And it probably will. But you might ask, who would think that you could blow up the Death Star twice? Well, George Lucas, for one. And hell, If Chelsea Clinton fails, then maybe you can call her the Star Killer Base. Let's get to what really matters in this election, ladies and gentlemen, and that is Marco Rubio's boots. I promised you one of the most amazing political ads you've ever seen in your entire life, and I am not lying. Here we go. This one comes in from the Right to Rise campaign. The Right to Rise Political Action Committee. That, for those not keeping track, is a Jeb Bush political action committee. They are there to support Jeb Bush. This is 1 minute and 22 seconds. And holy crap, am I going to make you watch all minute and 22 seconds of it. Here we go. I want you to please just hit me up on Twitter, Justin R. Young on Twitter, and let me know if you drop whatever you are holding, because this is the best thing ever.
These boots are made for flipping, and that's just what they'll do. One of these days, young Marco's gonna flip on you.
For those of you who are listening only on audio, and boy, it is an oral treat, A-U-R-A-L already, what you are missing is that somebody had to put on Marco Rubio's boots and then wear his pants and shot only from the crotch down, them doing a little two-step shuffle in front of a green screen that is now showing a very 70s era pastel pastiche of various arrows going various directions as to indicate that this Nancy Sinatra, these boots are made for walking song, a reference so old, so incredibly old, that I'm sure most people who are intrigued by the Marco Rubio campaign that runs just a little bit younger than the Jeb Bush campaign have no idea what it is. It is to indicate that Marco Rubio is not to be trusted. He is young, he is impetuous, he is a flip-flopper. Did you think we were done watching it? You're wrong.
You keep spinning when you ought to be truthin'.
When you ought to be truthing. You keep spinning when you ought to be truthing. Like, how hard do you have to work to, oh, God. You keep spinning when you ought to be truthing. How long does this go? How long does this writing session go on before they're like, forget it, we're settling on truthing?
You keep flipping when you shoulda not flop.
You keep flipping when you shoulda not flop. Does that even make sense? You keep flipping when you shoulda not flop. And meanwhile, there are little attributed quotes that pop up here, again, in a very 70s style. This one, Rubio shifts direction on Syria, credited to Politico, 9/3/13. You keep flipping when you shoulda not flop. That's amazing.
You keep leaving when you ought to be voting.
So this is we're already running low. So you are justifying the reason that you had to make a 1.5-minute ad that is effectively just making fun of the fact that Marco Rubio wore silly shoes. And in your list, it's like, oh, no, wait. Sure, this is the fun part. The boots are the fun part. But really, we're trying to get some serious messaging across. We're trying to, again, draw the line between Jeb Bush as a candidate versus Marco Rubio as a candidate. And with the top three things you have to go to, Rubio isn't showing up in the Senate while he's running for president, which, if you really want to get mad at that, then get mad at literally everybody who's ever been a senator and run for president. Like, it just happens. And also, there's a million reasons why people who are in the Senate don't vote. Not the least of which is they want to keep their messaging intact and don't want the messaging of Congress to dominate what they have to talk about there on the campaign stump. So they'd rather just take the heat for not voting instead of taking the heat for voting in a way that they might not be appropriate. But it's ridiculous.
Now what's work is work, but you ain't earned it yet.
Wait, what's work is work, but you ain't earned it yet? Hold on, we gotta go back.
Now what's work is work, but you ain't earned it yet.
And it just says Marco Rubio, absentee senator. For those of you still listening, the Boots have never stopped dancing. They dance for a little bit, they dance off screen, they come right back, they dance more. This is a dance-centric commercial, which you can say many things about many political ads. You cannot say that there is a huge list of dance-centric political ads, okay? Just doesn't exist.
These boots are made for flipping.
No, a third chorus. That's great.
That's just what they'll do. One of these days, young Marco's gonna flip-flop flip on you.
And so here we go. In the 70s font, Syria, Iran, immigration. The Boots dance off and then dance
Are you ready,
back on.
Marco's boots? Start flipping.
And now, oh my God, just an electric technicolor of all the different quotes that he's had. It explodes into a rainbow. What am I doing talking over this? Let's just enjoy the splendor. The Boots now going in fast motion and zooming in. There we go. Paid for by Right to Rise. That is special. That is America. Oh my God. So good. Did you drop what you were holding? That's all I want to know. Tweet me right now at Justin R. Young. Did you drop what you were holding? Where to start with this? It's ancient. It's so ancient. Who knows that Nancy Sinatra song? It's old as a reference in Austin Powers, which was like in the 90s. And that was a dated reference because he had been in cryogenic freezing for 3 decades. Like, it's old as a reference to somebody being old. Who knows this song? I mean, I know this song. And also, really, they made it for me. I mean, really, they're just trying to get me to vote for Jeb Bush. Because, nobody looks at that. And if they're saying Justin Robert Young of the Politics podcast really needs something for the show, we're going to make it for him. Okay, you've succeeded. Thank you, Right to Rise. Because I derive so much personal joy from that. But if you think that voters are going to be like, oh, wait, thank you for the spoonful of sugar of keeping this Marco Rubio's boots controversy alive so I can take the medicine of understanding that Marco Rubio has inconsistencies in his record. Oh, why? How are you spending this money? There is no question now that Jeb Bush is toast. This is supposed to be what you're doing. This is how you're going to climb back. And also, the fact that Jeb Bush is punching at Marco Rubio is really all you need to know. Like, he's supposed to be a headliner. And now he's fallen so far back in the pack that he is going to just try and take out Marco Rubio to see if that can be his ticket back into the main stage, man. That dude is toast, toast, toast. You know who's not toast? Donald Trump. Now, one might think Donald Trump now falling behind in the Real Clear Politics aggregate in Iowa is a hugely terrible sign for him. You might think that him having his lead tighten in New Hampshire is a bad sign for him, that you are beginning to see what looks to be what happened to Howard Dean, what happened to Pat Buchanan, what happened to a lot of candidates that had early hype and then eventually just kind of didn't win. These would all be bad signs for Donald Trump. The fact that this Ted Cruz birther thing hasn't really taken hold, except for being a talking point with other candidates who have literally no shot, like Rick Santorum, you might think that that's a bad sign for Donald Trump. But according to Betfair, one of the predictive betting markets, Donald Trump is now the betting favorite to win the Republican nomination. Now, why does that matter? PredictWise as well, which I think PredictWise is a aggregator for a lot of the different predictive systems, and now they have Trump and Rubio both at a 32% chance. PredictIt also has Trump in the lead. Now, why does this matter? Because the predictive betting markets are something that some of the numbers folk at 538 and many other political stat blogs and think tanks do value. Now, it's not the end-all, be-all. It's not anything that is a gigantic indicator, but it's something that you often see beyond polling to be kind of an undercurrent of data. You know, something that might not sway as quickly as, let's say, a poll that only talks to 400 people will, which is what you see in general now. So why is Donald Trump, what has happened that has put Donald Trump at the top of the predictive betting markets? Ones that have to this point kind of said, well, with Jeb Bush imploding, that means Marco Rubio has the inside track. Now, I don't know for sure, and this is literally just a guess, but here's my guess, because I don't know a lot about predictive betting models. But as the stepson of a GA admitted compulsive gamblers, I know a little bit about betting markets. I think that Donald Trump is being driven up by what we like to call in betting markets public money. I think that now these betting markets have become a little bit more in the news, that you have people looking to cash in on the fact that Donald Trump seems like a good bet. He seems like somebody that is leading in national polls. Now, this would be very interesting. I'd be very curious to see whether or not this is the case and whether or not public money is affecting this, or if, like many people think, a lot of these betting markets are precursors for what we are going to see going forward. I don't know for sure, but I do know that that's an interesting sign. Here's another interesting sign. You've asked for it. You've clamored for it. You have said repeatedly to me that, Justin, there is only one segment on the Politics show that is indispensable. And man, this is the first time we have, in my opinion, a real shocker on our hands. Start your callers. Go ahead and call up the limo. Put the champagne on ice, because we are heading to the club, son. It is the January 13th edition of the
Get on the floor if you got that booty.
Pole Dance. This week's Bowl Dance was collected by Quinnipiac from January 5th to January 10th. We had a live voter sample of 492. Our margin of error is 4.4. Let's go ahead and get to the daytime strippers first. When you walk in the garden, you better watch your back because Martin O'Malley's probably already fallen down and he can't get up. He's got 4%. Whatever, Holmes. Let's get to our headliners. This pantsuit is not used to not closing down the show. Get down and get your American bald eagle on. It's Hillary Clinton with 44%. But your headliner. Everybody clamber on up to the brass rail to get a look at this man who's been doing it older than you can possibly imagine. He was your mama's favorite. Let's go ahead and take a look at a 49% poll winner. You can call him the Colonel. You can call him St. Bernard, but what you just might be calling him on February 1st is the master of the big caucus win. It is Bernie Sanders. Oh my good Lord. Of course, we do have our politics poll. We put it up every week. Since we're doing this one a little early, you might notice that we are live on a Wednesday. Club going up on a Wednesday. I got to travel to the battleground state of Ohio tomorrow, so we're not doing this on a Friday. In the interest of kind of having more data as opposed to less data, because I really like this poll, we're going to keep it open one more week. So we're not going to reveal the results of the poll so far. But everybody go to bit.ly/politics5. That is our own politics listener poll. It reveals in there where we will reveal not only who everybody wants to vote for, so you can find out what the listenership of this podcast is into, but I think more interestingly, who from the other side you find the most palatable, which I think is super rad. So check it out, bit.ly/politics5. If you'd like to email this show, then go ahead and do it at justinrobertyoung@gmail.com. But politics in the subject line. Please do. Got some great stuff this week, including that first time I saw that Marco Rubio ad, we got it from an emailer. Thank you so much. Everybody, keep sending me everything that you find about this election that you think is interesting. We like to gather all of it. Man, I know there's a lot of other politics podcasts out there, and they got, they're going to get really wonky, and they're going to go into, the messaging this week. Man, we're here for the Chotskys. We're here for the silliness. We're here for the gaffes. We're here for the nonsense. We're here for the silly circus. If you see anything silly, makes you laugh, makes you think, makes you want to cry about the state of American democracy, then go ahead and send it on over to my inbox, justinrobertyoung@gmail.com. Mike writes, as a faithful member of the Church of St. Bernard, I actually agree with you. I mean, standing right next to him is the living embodiment of what he's railing against, and he just hasn't gone there. But Trump hasn't gone all the way yet either. Isn't it weird how the top two Republicans aren't really attacking each other? Trump is starting to test the waters by bringing up Cruz's mom's birth certificate. He writes parenthetically, LOL. But that's it. Cruz is the one guy who can beat him, and Trump wants to attack him so bad, but he's holding back because it'll piss off all the conservatives who like both and will likely backfire. At some point, though, Trump is going to have to cross the Rubicon and unleash on this guy like the beautiful asshole he is, a constipated asshole, unloading, if you will. Oh my God, the evocative nature. Paint a picture with your words. Thank you very much, Mike, for writing in. I actually disagree. The issue with Trump is not that he hasn't attacked the other folks that he is going against. Remember, he called Ben Carson mentally unstable and questioned whether or not he actually tried to stab his friend, which is another amazing part of this race that we are already kind of forgetting. The issue is that to attack somebody now is different than attacking when nobody else was really able to make headline news. Now we're kind of in the thick of things. So there's a little less oxygen for Trump to just dominate. Go and watch a Trump stump speech. Like, he attacks everybody constantly, and he always has. That dude doesn't have talking points. He has an enemies list. And that's how it's always been. That's how it's always going to be. But will he go hard on Cruz? Probably. He'll probably say that Cruz went hard on him first. But he attacks everybody. And also, it's not that Cruz is the only one who's going to be able to beat him. Because I think Rubio's probably still the most likely to come out of the Republican party anyway, but they are kind of at each other's throats in Iowa, and Iowa means more to Trump than it does to Cruz. Cruz can still do well in South Carolina, he can do well in Nevada, and Trump polls very, very well there too in those other states, but there is a sense that as things tend to tighten, and as people tend to drop out. By the way, Rand Paul not going to be in the next Fox debate. Or in the next Republican debate, sorry. That is going to be interesting to see where Rand Paul voters go. Because he has indicated that he's just going to be out as soon as he's not able to make those debates. So we're going to start to see it tightening. The big question is, here's the big question, aside from Iowa, is when does Jeb drop? And who does Jeb endorse? Because you get the sense that he would do the most good for Rubio. But they kind of hate each other. And this is where the Game of Thrones, our political carousel, begins to get interesting. It begins to get fun. We are going to be back next Friday, so we got a long week before you guys get another Politics podcast. But that means you got all the more time to email us, justinrobertyoung@gmail.com. Of course, you can buy The Contender at thecontender.us. I wasn't playing around at the top. Next week and next week only, we are breaking our Kickstarter campaign promise, and we'll be selling the politically incorrect expansion. If you look at our Twitter, @ContenderGame, you will see when people tweet their funniest combinations, a lot of times there's blue cards among those combinations. Those are the cards from the politically incorrect deck. If you didn't get a chance to get them, go ahead and follow us on Facebook, facebook.com, The Contender Game. Get on our mailing list by going to thecontender.us and follow us on Twitter @ContenderGame. That is the only place that we will be able to let you know when those are going to go on sale. And you're going to want to buy them early because I don't know exactly how much we have on stock. Like, there's a reason why we weren't going to sell them, and it wasn't just to create scarcity. It was because we didn't have enough money to run them. And I don't know how many we're going to be able to do. Real talk. So, @ContenderGame, thecontender.us, and follow facebook.com or like facebook.com/thecontendergame. The music, as always, provided by Valesco and Tropkillers, and you can follow me personally @Justin R. Young, each and every place that you use social media.
Politics, 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 politics.
And folks, this is Justin Robert Young reminding you that some podcasts talk about politics, others talk about politics, but this is the only one
Yes.
that talks about politics.
Yeah.
See you next week.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.